Soul Contracts Revealed: What your soul came to learn before leaving. In this video, we'll dive deep into the hidden soul agreements that may explain why certain pains, patterns, and relationships keep repeating in your life. If you've ever felt like life is trying to teach you something deeper, this may finally give you the clarity you've been searching for. Stay with me as we explore how your soul designed these contracts long before you were born, and how understanding them can transform your healing journey. Maybe you're tired, not just tired from today, not just from this phase of life, but a deeper exhaustion, the kind that doesn't live in your muscles. It lives somewhere inside your chest, a weariness of repeating the same emptiness, the same unanswered questions. The same losses that, no matter how much time passes, still hurt like they happened yesterday. You've tried to understand, you've searched for answers, you've read, you've talked, you've cried quietly in the dark, and yet there are days when it all slips through your fingers, like you're trapped in a cycle you can't explain, like life keeps handing you the same tests, the same absences, the same heartbreak. And somewhere in that emptiness, a quiet question rises. Why? Why do some pains feel so precise? Why do some people come into my life only to leave? Why do certain losses carry a hidden meaning I can't quite figure out? Today, I'm not here to give you simple answers. Your pain deserves more than that, but I want to gently invite you to look at a space you may have never considered. A space where what feels like chaos may be design, where what feels like injustice may hold wisdom, where what hurts today may one day be seen as an act of love from your own soul. There's something many call soul contracts, quiet agreements, choices your consciousness may have made before you were even born, not as punishments, not as sentences, but as carefully mapped out pathways designed to sculpt who you came here to become. I know. It's hard to imagine that pain was ever chosen. It feels almost cruel to think that what hurt you most could, on some level, have been allowed. But what if it wasn't pain your soul chose? What if it was the learning that could only be found through walking this particular road? Maybe it's not about suffering. Maybe it's about transforming, about learning to carry wounds with dignity, allowing them to become gateways for expansion. Today, together, we're going to gently walk this delicate ground. We'll explore these invisible contracts, the patterns that keep returning, the losses that feel like they carry unspeakable meaning. How your body, your mind, and your energy are carrying memories from long before this very moment. This isn't a path of blame or guilt. It's a safe space for understanding, for clarity, for lightness, because your story, even inside the pain, carries a sacred intelligence that may now be ready to be seen. Take a breath. You don't have to figure it all out right now, but you do need to know this. You have never walked this path alone. Your soul has always known the way. Let's begin. The invisible blueprint. How soul contracts are formed before birth, long before your first breath, before your body existed, before the world ever gave you a name. You were already here. Not in the way you know yourself now, but as pure consciousness, a weightless presence, a vast ancient energy field, resting in a place where time dissolves and only vibration remains. In that formless space, your soul began a conversation. Not a conversation of words, but of intention, frequency, knowing. It stood before a field of possibilities, what modern science is only beginning to glimpse as the quantum field, where every potential reality pulses at once, waiting for a choice to collapse possibility into form. Your soul didn't step into this journey blindly. It chose. It selected specific lessons, experiences, and encounters, not as punishments, not as accidents, but as tools for sculpting, as mirrors, as instruments of refinement. It observed the unresolved fragments carried across dimensions and lifetimes. It recognized the echoes that still vibrated. It saw the evolutionary opportunities each carried. In this sacred preparation, your soul was not alone. There were guides, beings of wisdom and light standing beside you. Some you've traveled with across many lifetimes, others who simply hold the blueprint of your unfolding. Together, you co-created agreements, what many call soul contracts, intricate designs woven into the very fabric of the life you were about to live. These contracts aren't written in stone. They are encoded in energy, vibrational codes embedded in your unconscious mind, your cellular memory, your nervous system itself. What modern neuroscience calls predispositions, unconscious tendencies, inherited emotional patterns, much of this carries the resonance of those contracts formed before you were ever born. That deep fear of abandonment, that repeated experience of betrayal, that grief that returns in different forms, that longing for love that always feels just out of reach. These aren't random misfortunes. They are vibrational invitations, invitations to see, to feel, to transform. But when life unfolds and these contracts activate, we rarely recognize them for what they are. Instead, we resist, we question, we fight against the very agreements we once made with clarity. But your soul remembers. That feeling of being trapped in cycles beyond your control is not failure. It's the echo of a deeper design unfolding, calling you to integration. The blueprint was never about ease. It was always about evolution. You may wonder, why would my soul choose pain? Why design experiences that break me? But maybe your soul didn't choose pain. It chose growth. And sometimes growth speaks through the language of discomfort. Imagine standing before a vast canvas. Every color, every brushstroke, every shadow carries meaning. Some strokes are bold, some are painful, but together they form the masterpiece of your incarnation, a masterpiece only your soul could design. And so before your first breath, these contracts were written, not as punishment but as sacred pathways leading you home to yourself. The mistaken pursuit of escape. Why avoiding pain blocks your evolution. There's a natural instinct inside all of us, to run from pain. When something hurts, we try to fix it, avoid it, forget it. We keep our minds busy, chase distractions, look for quick relief, and for a while, it seems to work. But inevitably, the emptiness returns. The anxiety resurfaces. The heaviness comes back. What few realize is that in trying to escape pain, we often create even thicker layers around it. What was once a raw wound becomes an emotional labyrinth, and the more we resist, the more the pain transforms into prolonged suffering. Pain itself is not the enemy. Pain is the messenger. It arrives to announce that something within you needs to be seen, felt, embraced. When we refuse to listen, the soul contract remains active, repeating the cycle until the lesson is integrated. There's a subtle but profound difference between evolutionary pain and self-inflicted suffering. Evolutionary pain carries the seed of transformation. It points toward growth. Suffering is born from resisting pain, fighting what life is asking us to feel. Many of us, without realizing it, develop an anxious need for control. We try to control outcomes, people, our entire destiny. But that anxiety quietly sabotages the frequency of the soul. The more we grip, the further we move from the natural current of our soul's contracts. Trying to escape your soul contract is like swimming upstream in your own river. You can struggle, exhaust yourself, fight the current with everything you have, but the river keeps flowing. And often, all life asks of you is to surrender, to trust, even when you don't fully understand. This surrender is not passivity. It's not about tolerating abuse or injustice. It's about making space to feel what must be felt, to embrace what needs to be embraced, and to allow the lessons to complete their cycle. It's in that conscious surrender that the contract begins to dissolve. When you stop resisting what already is, you create an opening. That opening is where healing begins, where pain finally softens, where suffering no longer multiplies. And slowly, you realize you no longer have to carry everything alone. That there is a wisdom holding you, guiding you, silently transforming you even inside your most difficult chapters. Breathe. There's no urgency, only an invitation to allow your soul to lead the process it designed for your unfolding. Karmic echoes. When old soul contracts resurface in this life, some of the pain you feel today didn't start here. These are old whispers, echoes from stories your soul has lived before, unfinished experiences, unresolved emotions, bonds left open. All traveling with you, crossing the veil between lives, waiting for the right moment to be touched again. That's why certain patterns feel strangely familiar, even when they show up in new situations. Relationships repeating cycles of abandonment, rejection, or betrayal. Situations that trigger deep fears that seem bigger than the moment itself. These are unfinished contracts carried into this life, hoping, finally, to be healed. Many carry the false belief that karma is punishment, as if your current struggles are punishments for mistakes made in other lifetimes. But the truth is far more compassionate. Karma doesn't punish. Karma rebalances. It offers opportunities to rewrite stories that once remained incomplete. Every repetition is not condemnation, but invitation. An invitation to respond differently, to make new choices your soul may not have been able to sustain before. When we look at these patterns with vibrational neutrality, without guilt, without harsh judgment, we create space for true healing. But there's a quiet trap here. The cycle of spiritual self-punishment, believing you must suffer endlessly to pay for old mistakes. This thinking keeps you trapped and feeds the contract longer than necessary. It's not about paying, it's about awakening. About observing cycles with loving awareness, recognizing that each situation is another chance to rise above from a higher place within yourself. Simple practices can help in releasing these patterns. One is the art of observing recurring situations with neutrality. Every time a painful cycle shows up, instead of sinking into despair or resistance, gently ask yourself, what is this moment showing me? Where does this emotion come from? Has my soul tried to teach me this before? When you observe without judgment, the weight begins to soften. Clarity grows, and slowly the old contract starts to lose its grip because the lesson is finally being absorbed. The soul doesn't require endless suffering. It only seeks integration of what was once left unfinished. When learning occurs, the cycle completes, the contract fulfills its purpose, and peace begins to take root. Breathe. Every repetition carries a key, and with each key you turn, new space opens inside you. Space where peace, finally, finds a home. The hidden error in popular manifestation teachings. In recent years, manifestation has become a widely popular topic. The idea that you can create your reality through your thoughts, emotions, and visualizations. Books, courses, endless techniques, all promising that if you just desire strongly enough, the universe will give you exactly what you want. But there's a missing piece that few talk about, and it's the reason so many people feel frustrated and confused. You don't manifest from conscious desire alone. You manifest from your deepest vibration, including the soul contracts still active within you. This is why, Even with all the positive intentions, some dreams never seem to materialize. Why certain painful situations keep repeating despite all the efforts at positive thinking? Because it's not enough to want. You must align. And more importantly, you must understand what your soul contract is calling for at this stage of your life. Popular manifestation teachings often ignore this deeper layer. By focusing only on surface-level desires, they overlook the quiet agreements your soul made before birth. Agreements that often need to be honored before certain doors can truly open. It's not that the universe is denying you. It's not that you're incapable of co-creating, but there are lessons that must be integrated first. Healing that must happen. Patterns that must be acknowledged. True manifestation doesn't happen against the current of your soul contract. It happens in harmony with it. As you begin to understand what your soul is here to learn and actively work on emotional integration, your internal vibration shifts. And it's that authentic shift that allows the universe to respond differently. Your mind may want something, but if your soul is still vibrating in scarcity, fear, or unresolved guilt, the manifestation field will continue reflecting those inner frequencies. This is why alignment always comes before attraction. First, you harmonize with what your soul is already asking you to heal. Then, the universe brings what is aligned with your new vibration. When this happens, desire stops feeling like struggle. It becomes a natural flow, a reflection of inner work that's already complete. And often you realize that not everything you once wanted truly served your higher path. Breathe. Your ability to manifest isn't blocked. It's being prepared, refined, adjusted. And when alignment happens, what's meant for you will arrive with an ease no technique could ever force. The neurobiology of soul lessons, how your brain locks in contracts. When we talk about soul contracts, it's easy to imagine them as something purely energetic, existing far beyond this physical world. But the truth is, these contracts don't only live in the spiritual plane. They're reflected right inside your body, within your very biology. Your brain holds the imprints of these agreements. Every emotional experience, every repeated pattern, every unprocessed pain leaves physical traces inside your nervous system. These become like deep trails, shaped by what your soul chose to experience and how you responded to those experiences. Modern neuroscience shows us that the brain is highly plastic, constantly learning, adapting, reshaping itself based on the emotions you live through. When certain situations repeat, abandonment, loss, betrayal, fear, the brain builds neural pathways that start functioning almost like emotional reflexes. The amygdala, at the center of your limbic system, fires alarms when familiar emotional threats arise. The prefrontal cortex tries to make sense of them, and slowly, often without you noticing, the brain locks into reaction loops, keeping you trapped in the same emotional states. These neural loops are biological mirrors of your soul contracts, not because the brain created them, but because it registered and reinforced the experiences your soul chose and lived, recording the lessons or resistances along the way. But here lies a powerful truth. If your brain can consolidate these patterns, it can also transform them. This ability is called neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to create new pathways, rewire old responses, and reshape emotional memories. And here's where the soul and body deeply meet. Every time you practice conscious compassion for your pain, every time you breathe through discomfort instead of running from it, every time you validate your experience without judgment, you are quite literally teaching your brain new pathways. You're building a new internal map. Small daily practices have enormous impact. These are what we call micro-rituals of integration. Simple gestures, done consistently, that send calming signals to your nervous system, letting it know that you are now meeting your pain with safety, not fear. It can be as simple as placing your hand on your heart when old emotional triggers surface. Breathing slowly, whispering to yourself, "I see you. I honor what I feel. I am safe to move through this." It can be writing down emotions at the end of each day, not trying to analyze, but simply naming what's present. Each small choice creates a new signal to your brain, and over time, these tiny signals rebuild your inner landscape. This is how soul contracts begin to shift, not by erasing the past, but by creating new ways of relating to what still echoes inside you. Breathe. Your brain is not your enemy. It's the instrument through which your soul expresses learning. And with compassion, patience, and presence, old contracts lose their grip, making room for a lighter, freer, inner reality. The illusion of random relationships, how soul contracts shape encounters. Few things stir us as deeply as human relationships. The people who come and go throughout our lives often seem like random encounters, a chance meeting, a love that appears, a conflict that wounds, a loss that cuts deep. But beneath what we can see, there is a design far more delicate and intentional. Soul contracts don't just show up through inner struggles or personal challenges. They often reveal themselves through the people who cross your path. Every connection carries a fragment of what your soul came to learn. Some souls arrive to bring love, support, expansion. Others arrive to confront the parts of you that still remain unseen. They are living mirrors, reflecting both your light and your unhealed wounds. They are not here to punish, but to activate dormant points of healing. That's why certain relationships trigger such profound pain, because they touch wounds that have lived inside you for much longer than this lifetime, sometimes from long before you were ever born. These connections are not accidents. They are coded messengers, delivering what your soul knew you would eventually need to face. Mistaking these experiences for personal failure is a silent and heavy trap. Believing you were rejected because you're unworthy, abandoned because you're not enough, that's a weight you were never meant to carry. These painful dynamics are often learning agreements, invitations to see yourself differently, to heal not from emptiness but from awareness. Every person who enters and exits your life serves a role. Some stay for long chapters, others touch you only briefly, yet leave marks that shape you forever. Each of them in some way participates in the theater of your soul's contracts. Imagine for a moment that every person who crossed your path carried a sacred envelope. Inside it was a message your soul needed to receive at that very moment. Some messages are sweet, others are sharp, but all are essential. When you begin to see these encounters this way, something inside you softens. The anger dissolves, the resentment fades. The question shifts from "why did they do this to me?" to "what was this experience trying to show me?" And more importantly, understanding this dynamic allows you to finally interrupt painful cycles. Because once you integrate the lesson from one relationship, you no longer need to repeat the pattern in the next. Breathe. Every person who touched your life in some way contributed to your awakening, even the ones you wish you could forget. They too played their part in your soul's larger design. Unlocking the portal, how to consciously work with your soul contracts. Knowing that these contracts exist isn't the end of the journey. It's the doorway to true transformation. Because what once felt unchangeable now becomes something you can meet with awareness, with presence, with choice. For a long time, you may have walked through life carrying these agreements unconsciously, simply reacting to the same repeating cycles. But there comes a moment, a quiet portal, where your soul offers you a new possibility to turn unconscious contracts into conscious ones. This is where healing begins. The first step is recognizing the patterns. You cannot transform what remains unseen. Observing your repeating experiences with honesty, without judgment, begins to lift the veil of automatic living. Ask yourself, what situations keep repeating? What emotions rise every time I feel hurt? Is there a central theme running through my story? By naming the pattern, you strip it of its hidden power. It no longer controls you from the shadows. It becomes a visible invitation. The second step is accepting the role you chose. Acceptance doesn't mean approving the pain or excusing harm done. It means understanding that, on a deeper level of your being, your soul allowed these experiences to shape your expansion. This acceptance is a mature, compassionate surrender to what can no longer be changed, but can now be healed. Without acceptance, the contract keeps pulling your energy, fed by resistance and quiet indignation. But with acceptance, the knot begins to loosen. The third step is aligning with a new vibrational signature. Once the pattern is recognized and the role is accepted, your field becomes ready for a new frequency. This is when practices like visualization, release meditations, gratitude affirmations, and small daily rituals begin to have true power. Every small act of self-compassion, every choice not to react like before, every conscious breath in the face of an old wound, all of it rewrites your vibrational field. And when your vibration changes, the old contract loses its function. Its lesson has been fulfilled. Now it can dissolve. This process doesn't require speed. It doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks for presence and consistency. Your soul isn't asking for urgency. It's asking for devotion to your own awakening. Your soul isn't punishing you. It's sculpting you, shaping you into a version of yourself you may never have reached without these lessons. Each fulfilled contract becomes a portal of expansion. A doorway into deeper peace, greater lightness, and fuller integration. Breathe. You are exactly where you need to be. And with each new layer of awareness, your path becomes a little more clear. Where the contract becomes light. Everything you've been through, every loss, every ache, every long silent night was never random. Your story isn't a chain of accidents, it's a sacred architecture, your soul carefully designed long before you arrived here. If at any point during this journey you felt like your pain carried a hidden meaning, it's because your soul has been whispering this truth all along. It was always there, even when the world felt empty. Now you begin to see what was once hidden. Soul contracts aren't prisons. They are paths, lessons written for your awakening. And as you recognize, embrace, and consciously work with these contracts, you discover that the way out was never about escaping. It was always about transforming. Right now, in this moment, your soul may be offering you yet another invitation. Take a breath and ask yourself gently and honestly, what lesson is my soul inviting me to integrate right now? If this resonates with you, I want to invite you to drop a comment below and write, "I am ready to honor my sacred contract." This isn't just a comment, it's an energetic declaration, a moment of alignment, a choice to walk your path with greater clarity, softness, and self-compassion. And if this video brought you any clarity, comfort, or a sense of peace today, please take a moment to hit that like button. It really helps this message reach others who may need it right now. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos where we continue to go deeper into healing, soul wisdom, and spiritual truth. And don't stop here. Be sure to watch the next video I've carefully selected for you. There's much more waiting for you, and I promise it may speak to exactly where you are right now. Take a breath. Your journey doesn't end here. It's simply unfolding into a new layer of awareness.